All right, tips. We're going to hit our tips from the pro segment here. So this is more of like we're going to say we want to try to get into similar space of yours, in this case, into the writing process, but also like see what we can see what type of landmines we can avoid that you might have stepped on there, Dan. So I guess the first question for this one is, what is the actual writing process for you? Do you set the mood in a certain way? Do you just, if it's something just comes to mind, do you just start writing? How is your writing process like?
Well, I hired a co-author, Matt Cartagena, who helped me with this particular book. Um, I had a co-author for the first book as well, but with this book, it was an interesting process because I was right in the middle of this whole kind of pandemic survival process. So I'm every single day I'm in the arena making moves on the business chessboard, and then at night me and Matt Cartagena would we would have a call. He would interview me and like record the calls, and then um, and we would kind of distill the lessons that I was picking up from that business chessboard, and put those down in a digestible and succinct and engaging way. And then it's kind of a back and forth process of I would kind of set the tone for the chapter with like a 1 or 2 page overview, and then we would have these interviews, and he would extract. His company's called Unpack Genius, and so it's kind of self-explanatory. He works with people to kind of unpack what's in their mind. So we would do this. He would record. He would put together like a chapter, and then he would send it to me, and then I would kind of edit and make suggestions and things like that. And that's how we did the whole book. We got it done, and then it was um, and then we went to the publisher, and then the publisher reviewed the whole manuscript and made a couple of suggestions, and and then we took it from there.
Nice. Wow. It's good to have help. I think some people think they have to write the whole thing themselves. And maybe in some cases you might have to just to get that thing going. But I guess working with a co-author to at least help organize some of your thoughts, right? Because if anyone just tries to write their own book, it'll probably be all over the place. And I guess having
Yeah,
someone with experience of that was able to structure it in a way that, like you said, that's very digestible, right? Which is really good to hear. So so
exactly.
next question is, how do you filter out what stories you want to include and others you had to cut? Because eventually, you mean, you've had an extraordinary career where you have like probably 1.5 billion stories your entire lifetime here. So how are you able to narrow down the ones that you ended up including in the book and ones that, were this close, but I have to not include it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of like um, intuition, or you just want to be very careful not to have something like really kind of long and monotonous, and you want to keep things kind of tight and punchy. So that was just an interactive process between me and Matt. We didn't really have a set system. It was just kind of analyzing on a case by case basis.
No, that's great to hear. So what should an aspiring author, I guess, what type of things should they be careful of when they start to try to write their own manuscript or their own book? Like I know you mentioned before, not to get too uh, long-winded for when some of these chapters. Is there any other tips you can give them to say, okay, I know even you had a co-author that we helped this, but here's some things you might want to be careful of.
Yeah, I think a trap that some people can fall in when writing is making the book about them when the book should be about the reader. You want to make sure that in every sentence your objective is to deliver value to the reader rather than you know talk about just yourself or whatever. If you're doing a nonfiction book, um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not the pro on in terms of the actual content, um, but because I had the co-author there who really helped with that. But um, I found that as one of my pitfalls is it's your life, so all these things are important to you, but a lot of those things are not important to anyone else. So you really want to be careful of like not boring the reader by uh, talking about things that aren't important to them.